Hey, Mel.
Hey, Cole. Seems like there's a bottle on the bar.
There's a bottle on the bar.
This is
What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means this is a bonus episode.
For...
Try before you die.
Can it maybe try before we die? Why does that be before I die?
Great show of us drinking Scotch.
The Scotch consumption time frame. Because it's not an hour, because we don't think anybody would really hang out for the full hour. But I would drink Scotch for an hour.
2, 4 hours.
So bonus episode nights are when we aren't finding out what we're drinking. It's when we've chosen what we're drinking. So what do we know about this bottle now?
All I know, around New Year's, this guy and the camera crew drove to Bedford, New Hampshire to make sure that I had a bottle so I could take part in the great New Year's toast of 2020.
Traditionally here at the bar, we have a New Year's get-together and we open bottles, rare bottles, exciting bottles, curious that we're curious about. And this year, somebody put an article up, and maybe it was me, I'm not sure, on the Facebook page, suggesting that this bottle was in one circle Whiskey of the Year.
Yes.
Scoring, I think, a 90 out of 100 points. And so because of the pandemic, and we could not have a get-together here, I'm thinking at least 7 or 8 of the group members got this bottle.
They did.
Yep. And so we had a Facebook room. We tried to go live, and it was just, we don't know what we're doing. So there was probably about 15 or 20 of us having a toast. Everybody was invited. But we really didn't, sit down and enjoy the whiskey for what it was. We just enjoyed the toast with our friends. And so I thought tonight we would...
revisit that?
We would visit this bottle of whiskey and see what it really was.
Well, I think it's a good choice.
Yeah. So it's a Glenrothes.
I see you have your book open.
Oh my gosh. So again, I love learning things. You don't know this either.
No, I don't.
Almost all of the whiskey produced at the Glenrothes distillery is used for blending, which is not uncommon. But it's used in the blends Famous Grouse and Cutty Sark.
Wow. I sold a lot of Famous Grouse when I used to work in an off-license back home in England.
I would not have guessed that.
No, I would not have, because I don't think...
I'm not reaching here when I'm thinking Famous Grouse or Cutty Sark.
No,
yeah.
I just remember...
No offense.
When I worked at the off-license, we were right outside the tube station in Southfields, and a lot of people would stop on their way home and buy a bottle or two of Famous Grouse. Not because it was expensive, but because...
accessible.
It was accessible, and it certainly hit the spot. I can actually honestly say I've tried Cutty Sark, didn't think that much of it. I can't say I've ever tried Famous Grouse.
I have tried Famous Grouse, but it is so far in the past that I have no comment. I would say what we can learn additionally together is that the Glenrothes produces over 1 million gallons of whiskey a year.
Wow. Wow.
And we can see on our shelf down here, the Glenrothes shelf where it currently is, Glenrothes does a lot of distillery releases of a single malt. And so I am surprised that their primary purpose
is to make other people.
Is a contributor to blends. I had no idea. I just thought
that actually is rather shocking.
I have to just I just have to keep digesting that information. Wow. So it's a Speyside, close to the Highlands.
Yes.
And this particular 18-year-old, so this is a recent release, and I'm thinking so it's 2021, but I'm thinking it was released sometime in 2020. I don't think I'd seen this before then. And it's an 18-year-old. It's the first distillery release from Glenrothes at the 18-year-old age that I'm aware of. They have a number of I don't want to say novelty, but we're just going to use that word right now. Novelty cask. They got a bourbon cask. They have a sherry cask. They do a lot of different little interesting releases, and they do a number of releases based upon the year. So there'll be a 95 up top. I think there's an 85 bottle around here that has been consumed. I really wish it still was some here. I can see.
Yeah, is that the 85 up there?
That up top.
Yes.
Yeah, the empty one.
Yes.
Right. So there's a 95. I think there's a 90. There was my birthday bottle we talked a little bit about. With only the 558 bottles. Vintage cask number 3. So they do a lot of releases, and so I was just operating under the impression that Glenrothes was really just about the single malt releases.
And now that we found out,
And now
they
we learned
supply famous grouse and Cutty Sark.
they do, and so there may come
Two prominent names. Of the,
well known. But it'll be interesting.
Like they were teachers.
We might actually have to, not here, somewhere try one of those whiskeys, and think about it a little more.
I say actually that's not a bad experiment actually, because it would be interesting to see now that we know where it's actually coming from.
Yep.
What the flavor profile is.
Yeah, and it's curious, right? Because again, to be a Scotch, it has to be entire process take place in Scotland and age for a minimum of 3 years. So the Glenrothes whiskey that's being contributed to the famous grouse or the Cutty Sark is probably a very young Glenrothes.
Yes.
Right, and so what they're hanging on to in the warehouse is for their releases. So it'll be just curious to see with that knowledge if there's any of those flavors carrying over at that young age. I do know that I feel pretty confident in saying that Cutty Sark does have a couple of, they've jumped on an age statement bandwagon now and then, so they'll have a 12-year-old, and I even think there might be a 25-year-old Cutty Sark out there somewhere. And in a blend with an age statement, the age statement is the age of the youngest whiskey in it. Right. So a 25-year-old Cutty Sark could have a 30-year-old in there as part of the blend, but if it's got a 25 as the youngest whiskey, it has to be labeled as a 25. So
Probably to help so you don't inflate your number when it comes to age.
I think so that, I think because it's like the lowest common denominator.
Okay.
Right? That you can't, false advertising or something, you can't declare something's a 30-year-old if it's only 1 part 30-year-old and 4 parts 25-year-old. Right? So again, the youngest whiskey is the bottom line for an age statement in a blend. So we opened this bottle on New Year's. I opened this bottle on New Year's here.
I had my own bottle, which these guys bought me at my house, and I think it was Pete and Lemming.
Yeah, Yodeler, Colonic,
Medic.
Chatty Matty, Big Red, Yodeler, Verati, Lemming.
Yeah. And then there was a various other faces.
Yeah, there was a Balvenie on the screen. D-Bag.
D-Bag did freaking. That was a nice one that he actually had.
You're probably screaming at the screen right now. That's not my name.
But that was his. His was actually one of the ones I was like, oh, I wish I had.
He had the 17-year-old Doublewood.
Yes.
Yes. And we had a rum drinker, a fellow that I've known for since
that's correct.
7th or 8th grade. Big rum man up in Maine. He joined us for the toast. Jimmy, that's for you. So the tasting notes on this, and again, we didn't really get to spend time exploring this, Mal. Sweet vanilla, peat, and fresh ginger. Matured only in sherry seasoned oak with a high proportion first fill. So I'm trying to establish what that means. Matured only in sherry seasoned oak cask, a high proportion first fill, bottled at natural color. We have 43% alcohol, high proportion first fill.
Got nothing.
I got nothing.
I don't even know how to explain that.
And this is what I like about the honesty that we're trying to give folks here. We're learning at the same time.
Correct.
Right. Only thing that we've been fortunate enough to put together is we have the whiskey. We have some whiskey here. But other than that, there's no pretentiousness. We don't know. We're trying to figure this out, you know, and hopefully you're learning something with us.
To be honest with you, I'm just here for the drinking.
Well, so why don't we have a try of this, Mal, and see what we think of the Glenrothes 18-year-old. Not at midnight after other drinks.
Correct.
Yes.
Or after taking a nap. Because
you're old?
Because I'm old.
Yeah.
And there was nothing else really going on. I was like, well, I'll just take a nap and get out.
So those of you who have this bottle that are in the group, you know, we'd be curious if you'd chime in on some of your thoughts after we give our review. It's got the classic Glenrothes bottle.
Yep.
This is the bottle shape that they're known for. Sweet vanilla, peat, and fresh ginger. They get the vanilla right on the nose. Yeah, so it's not the Tiger King around here. It's like the Wiener Dog Queen. And so that would maybe be our next endeavor for filming.
We'll have to bring him down because he does like a Scotch. He does enjoy Scotch.
He is a boozer.
But back to the notes.
Yeah. Do you get the vanilla?
I got the vanilla.
Yeah.
And right behind it, you can sort of pick up on the smoky part of it.
You know, sometimes when you get the information that somebody thinks something's really good, and it's true. There was a bottle already here because I liked the Glenrothes range. But when the review came out as Whiskey of the Year in one particular review circle, we found there were only 7 or 8 bottles left in New Hampshire. And so the cameraman and I, G-Man and I, went and
It was impressive.
We bought 3 of them. We're like, if there's only these many left in the state, and let's put our masks on and let's hit the road. And we bought 3 of them.
It was impressive.
Yep. And we brought one for you.
Yeah, and it was like almost like one of those gangster movies that you see where someone arrives with a brown paper bag and puts it down
and steps
and then
back.
steps away, and then someone else comes in, looks in the bag, smiles, and goes about their business. It was great. But I must appreciate what they did. They did not need to do that. I had my scarf already lined up for this get-together for New Year's, but to have them go all the way to Bedford and come back and hand me a bottle is quite touching. I appreciate that still. That was really good.
And so the cameraman kept a bottle for himself, and we still have an unopened bottle in the bar. And so, sweet vanilla, peat, and fresh ginger. The vanilla is present on the nose. Not picking up a ton of peat.
No. And you pick up the ginger on the very back of it.
It's pretty smooth. I'm not getting a lot of burn. I'm not getting a lot of linger. It's got a little substance in the mouth, and it just fades away.
I would say for for them to rank it number 1, for what it is. If you were to look at this and say, hey, this is our number 1 choice, not knowing what else they went through,
Right.
this wasn't a bad choice.
I'm gonna just call up the article real quick.
Yep.
I don't think it's too far down in the web page or the Facebook group, and if I can get to it real quick, I will.
But this is a good, robust drink.
Aha. Are you looking? Oh gosh. We just got lost. We just got lost. All right. Is that Jay Giles, right? Must have got lost?
No. Yes.
Yes. Are you, according to Glenrothes, their statement was, are you looking at the world's best single malt? Well, according to the Ultimate Spirits Challenge, you are. The Glenrothes 18-year-old scored 98 points at this year's award, making it the highest ranking single malt in the world. And so it's just a blurb, and I haven't gone to explore the Ultimate Spirits Challenge. But that's pretty good. That's, it sounds good.
And like I said, it'd be interesting to see what it was up against and how they went about their. I mean, like I said,
You know what? Actually, I did look some of this up. And so there were categories. There were other alcohol categories and whatnot. So it wasn't just a Scotch whiskey challenge.
Okay.
So it says right there, the Ultimate Spirits Challenge.
Oh, okay.
So it won its category of the entrance there. But there were other, and I'll make it up, I don't know if there were tequilas or rums. There probably were. But in the Ultimate Spirits Challenge, it got the highest score.
Okay, all right.
And based on what I remembered from that night, Mal, I've pulled out some 60% dark chocolate. And what I'm tasting now, I feel like it could pair well. Get it out. This is actually from that night. Because it was not much of a sweet guy most of the time.
All right.
60% intense dark from bean to bar. So not as bitter as some of the chocolate we've had before.
No.
Certainly no milk chocolate, but a lot less bitter.
Much more palatable as dark chocolate goes compared to the other one you got.
I think that's a good match. This is a more of a sweeter chocolate, and we have that vanilla and ginger. I'm not picking up on the peat still, and so I think this, I don't want to say semi-sweet because it's maybe 60%. It might be 60% sweet, right? It's not like 50-50 or something like that. We've got some nice sweetness here in the chocolate and in the drink, and it's a sherry finish or a sherry cask. Exclusively all in sherry casks, and I think that brings us some of this dark color.
Yes.
And I think that's bringing us that vanilla.
Well, I will say about the chocolate part of it, which was odd. It was almost like there was this sweet taste, but then there was this almost like spike of like this sweet, even sweeter taste. And I couldn't tell if it was just a part of the chocolate that was being mixed in with it, or it was just something to do with the way it was being drunk. But there was just like a spike, like it was like almost overpowering. But that's good with that chocolate. Oh, I got that left.
There's a whole bottle right there, man.
All right, I'll do a short.
It's not really a whole bottle because we've been drinking it.
But yeah, that's a.
Keep some of that chocolate in your mouth the next time you put some whiskey in there. That was really good. Yeah, that was a good blend right there. The whiskey with the chocolate that is melting in the mouth. That was a nice match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's almost like a not a smoothie, like a shake.
Right.
Like got that creaminess to it.
It really does well with it in your mouth.
Right? Yeah, that was good.
The chocolate,
That's
mostly crunched up, starting to really dissolve. Add that Glenrothes 18-year-old.
You could feel how trying to mix in.
Yeah,
and
it
then it was
tries to blend in your mouth just a little bit, almost like the whiskey shake.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good. I have to remember that one again.
Yep, for sure. So, again, drinking something at midnight after a nap or after a few drinks, this is a much different experience I'm having with this whiskey right now than I did at midnight on New Year's Eve. Right.
And this certainly has now added a whole new
Yep.
dimension to things.
Yep. So.
But I think well worthy of its.
Yeah, I mean,
award.
it won the award. There's got to be a winner in any contest, and I don't think we can argue like, why did they pick that one, right? We don't know what they were up against, but I know this is a fine glass of whiskey.
This is well worth. If you can find a bottle, obviously they could be scarce.
In New Hampshire, they definitely are scarce.
Yeah, but that definitely was worth it. Definitely was worth it.
It's a little pricey, but not
Outrageous.
prohibitively so if you're buying it for a purpose, right?
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was buying it initially because I liked the Glenrothes range, and I was like, oh, okay, and but then after it won its award, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have it. So no regrets. So, do you recall? Were we in Texas at an Embassy Suites, and there was some fella there who was trying to guess where he's from? AJ, JP,
Jay-Z. No.
No. We're at the
Yes.
bartender who became the manager.
So basically, the story goes back in the early 2000s. We were playing for Blues Crew, and we went to Texas.
Paintball. We were
Paintballing.
Yeah.
This was paintballing. Went to Texas. I was asked to go to the bar to hang out, so I did. And I was talking to the bartender. Nice guy, shot the shit with him. We had some laughs.
a little bit of an accent.
A little bit of an accent. So Colin comes down, sees me at the bar, joins me at the bar. We're at happy hour. And the bartender starts talking, and Colin goes, I hear a little bit of an accent. And
I can't think of his. It's like two letters, right? It was AJ.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
But he goes, I'll bet you any money that you can't tell where I am from. And you can take the rest of the story.
And I said, and I think I probably had him say a sentence or two. We conversed for a minute or two, and I said, Chile.
And he was shocked. And I was shocked. I was like, how did you pull this one out? Suffice to say, we managed to get on the good side of the bartender.
Yeah, we did. He
really
was from Chile. Yep. We went back to that establishment many times and had a good time with this guy.
Yeah, he was good.
He liked us. We liked him. Oh, boy.
It was one of those things we look forward to seeing.
That's where we met Spike.
That is exactly where we met Spike.
That's a different story.
Yeah, that'll be for late night.
We'll have to get a cheers from that country.
Yes, that was a good one.
So in Chile,
Chile.
Fun fact, Gustavo Fring is Chilean. Los Pollos Hermanos. The Chilean cheers includes, something that would be roughly translated as, to you, my friend, or salute, my friend. And so it's salud y amor.